hope those of you in Napier that I know come online are okay, that the floods haven't affected you. It's been a pretty crazy time, hey? So I think we've still got about a minute before we start. We don't need a whole lot of props today, but if you have got your yoga blocks, grab those, or a cushion or a blanket that you could roll up just to support the legs. If you're on a hard floor, you could lay your blanket out on the floor just to give you a bit of extra support. And when we do start, we are going to start lying down on our backs. But I'll just give it another minute, so another 30 seconds or so. I'll just give it that, and then we'll get started. Do let me know how you're finding these classes, that going live is okay, or that you're replaying them over the week, and that the instructions are clear for you. I'm not there to adjust, so just keep me posted if there's anything you want to know, any issues you're having. Alrighty, so come on down onto your backs. As I said, you could lay down onto your blanket, have that down on the floor if you want a bit of support, and then just have your blocks or your props over towards the upper end of the mat so that they're in range for you to take a hold of if you need them, but that they're not in your way. So coming down onto the back, just land here, settle in for a moment, let the elbows rest heavy, head heavy on the floor, almost like we're about to start in Shavasana. Rest the hands onto the body. Take a nice full inhale through the nose and then exhale out through the mouth. Let the shoulder blades feel a little heavier. Let go of any gripping or tensing through the quads and in through the glutes. Letting go of any scrunching or tensing around the eyes. And just with the hands resting onto the body, connect into the movement of the breath. And then at the end of the next exhale, just follow that breath to the end. Hold the pause and just start to bend the right leg. Bring the sole of the foot onto the floor and fairly high up towards the sitting bone. And then you're going to grab one of your props, either a block or a blanket, and pop it just to the outside of that right hip. And then let the knee fall open. You can slide your foot a little closer so the foot connects towards the inner thigh on the left. If you don't need the block and you've got kind of enough support there, then you can take the block away and let the knee just drop to the floor. I'm just going to sit up and check that you guys can see me, that I'm not too high. I could probably drop that just a fraction lower, I think. If it will. No. We've got a lot of work today on the inner legs, into the adductor muscles, which also gets into our psoas muscle, which is one of our deep lower back muscles. And for a lot of people, these often are areas that get pretty tight. So just checking in and seeing that you're not tensing the glutes. Once you've found a place for the leg to land, completely let that leg go. You can scan in through the inner right leg and notice any places where you do feel like there is some tension. If you've got any knee issues and flexing the knee this closely doesn't feel great, then you could slide the foot a little further away so that the foot's more towards the knee or even below the knee. And then really check in and see that you're not tensing. Sometimes it's really obvious the areas that are tensing, and other times it's a little harder to find. So scan through the body. The right glute might rip. The left quad can often stay kind of toned and tense, and we want to completely let them go. For some of us, there could be a sense of a compression on the outer right hip and around where the leg attaches onto the torso. And if that feels really kind of hard or sharp, then definitely prop that leg up. Some of us, depending on our hip shape and where our hip sockets sit, might find that we connect with the cup that holds our femur bone in place. And a little bit of compression is okay, but definitely nothing that's kind of bony or hard. Just give the head a little rock from side to side, just ever so gently, just to check in and see that you're not gripping the base of the skull. Nice big sigh again out through the mouth. Notice the body drop a little more as you exhale. And then using the hand to support you. It can feel tender as we start to bring that leg back. Knee pointing out, foot back to the floor. And then from here we're just going to start to draw that right knee in towards you. You can hold on around the shin. You can hold on behind the thigh. For some of you, you might even find it helpful to bend that left leg. It'll give you perhaps a little bit more range. Otherwise you can keep that leg out straight and soften it. If you get a pinch between the hip and the top of the thigh, you can widen the knee a little bit. But we are looking for the sense of compression between the belly and the thigh here. So for some of you who maybe the belly and the thigh aren't connected, you can't pull the leg that close, you could even take a prop and lift it and pop it onto the belly, a blanket, so that we start to compress into the belly. In our yin practice, we're looking for tension and compression. Those are two of the kind of key ingredients to making a change in the tissues. We start to stimulate production of new cells, which start to allow hydration and elasticity. Also compressing into these energy centers and energy lines within the body. So those centers, the energy centers, often bring up an emotional component. And there is both a positive and a negative emotion. So you could start to feel either of those kind of feelings, sense of peace or a sense of frustration, irritability. You can feel a little weepy in some poses. All positive signs that we are releasing blocked kind of channels within the body or held emotions. And if you are holding the leg behind the thigh and space is opened up, maybe you connect a little more. For those of you who are holding on around the shin, maybe you can cross the forearms and hold a wrist so that you can soften, so you can let go of any effort in the arms. If the back of the neck has started to shorten and the chin is lifting, you can pop a prop in under the head to keep your spine nice and long. gently release. And the foot back to the floor, and then reach the leg out long. Just taking these moments in between the poses for the body to start processing and absorbing this new information. The areas that we've been compressing, we'll start to open those tissues up and maybe get a nice new flush of blood through, clearing and unblocking. And maybe here you can feel there's a difference from the work that you've already done on that right leg. It could feel a little longer or a little lighter, a little heavier even than the other side. And then taking whatever prop you need, have that ready for the left side, and then you're going to bend the left knee, bring the foot to the floor first. There's no hurry to get into the shape. Then drop the knee open. You can start to slide the left foot towards the inner right thigh. And this side could be totally different. We've got different areas of tension, different injuries, even different bone shapes from one side to the other. We look like we're symmetrical on both sides, but there are definitely differences. And notice here if you're tensing or holding anywhere in that left leg. See if you can soften it a little more. Checking in with the left glute especially, and often the right quad will want to grip on. Soften that. And then just inquiring and noticing the places that there is what we call in yin an edge. We want to feel something, but we don't want it to be sharp. We don't want it to be too much. And letting the body just soften over time. Another ingredient for a successful change in our yin practice. So we find those edges, we come into stillness, and then we stay for time. So unless there is something sharp, or unless you need to go deeper, seeing if you can stay still. Stay with whatever is going on, even if there is a sense of discomfort. Often we start to fidget or kind of wriggle when we start to meet an edge. See if you can bear with whatever that is, like as long as it's not sharp, as long as it's not pain. But a little bit of uncomfortable is okay. And check in here and see that you're not tensing or gripping the jaw, that your shoulders aren't starting to slide up towards the ears. Not wasting any energy on other parts of the body that really don't need to be involved. The term for that in yoga is brahmacharya. Brahmacharya means the right use of energy. And that energy can be a physical energy. It could be the thought patterns that are going on in our mind, draining energy from us, Taking your left hand down, support that left leg to bring it in, and it can feel tender. We ask those muscles to contract back again, and it takes a moment for them to understand the signal. And then here, drawing that left knee in towards you. You can hold on behind the thigh, you can hold on around the shin. You could bend your right leg to add a little bit of support there for yourself. All of those are absolutely perfect. And like I said on the other side, if you can't get your leg kind of drawn in enough and you're not feeling a compression with the upper thigh connecting into the belly, then you could put a prop onto the belly and then draw that leg in. It'll just add something to give you a compression. Make sure the back of the neck is nice and long, that the neck isn't shortening, and that could mean putting a prop in under the head. And then we use some effort and some energy to connect and to draw the leg in towards us, but once you get there, see if you can completely soften the holding of the hands, the shoulders, just enough energy to keep you in place. For some, maybe there's plenty of space and you can wrap the arms around and find a position to hold the forearm. And checking in and scanning. Is there anywhere that you could soften a little more? How's the breath? The compression between the belly and the thigh is going to change the way the breath moves. But we still want the breath to be an easy breath, that we're not tensing or holding. Just 2 more breaths here. See if you can soften just a little more. And then releasing that left leg. Let the foot come back to the floor. Click. Reach the legs out long. And just pause here. Completely letting go again in this shape that feels like we're not really doing a lot. These pauses in between poses are super important to let the body reset and reorganize around these new patterns and shapes. There's still lots of hydration and reorganization going on in under the tissue. And maybe you can feel that. And then if you have got 2 blocks, then I'd suggest that you just grab those in one either side of the body. And then the knees. Press into the feet, pick up the hips and just lengthen the tailbone up towards the back of the knees so you keep the back nice and long, and then let the pelvis land again. We're going to bring the soles of the feet together and let the knees drop open here. And so often when our knees are just floating in space, that we tend to grip here, so having a support to put under the legs and letting the legs land will allow the inner thighs to soften even more. If you don't have blocks, you could put your cushions in under, otherwise you can make little gentle fists with your hands and just rest the thighs onto the hands, but see if you can soften the shoulders. Even sometimes it's quite good just to press your elbows into the floor and kind of walk your shoulders away from the ears, and then let the hands come to the floor. And then soften the gripping in the feet. Let the knees just drop towards the floor. For some of you, you might not need any support in under the knees, but if you are holding at all, then I'd suggest you do put something in there for the legs to land on. If the legs are hovering, for a lot of us, we'll start to contract these adductor muscles on the inside of the legs. So from the knees right up into the groins is where our adductor group are. And so we want to open those rather than shorten them. So taking a landing pad, and that could be really high. You could have those blocks turned up on a high setting, depending on what's going on in your body, your anatomy, as to what you need. If the adductor muscles are turned off completely, then you'll often find the glutes are able to turn off. And then resting the hands just onto the body again, just reconnect here with the breath. Letting the breath be your anchor. So if the mind starts to wander off and we start to waste our energy on thought or planning, or past or present, past, we want to be in the present. So you just reconnect with the breath. Maybe here just noticing where the breath moves into, which parts of the body tend to expand on the inhale, which parts of the body tend to soften or contract on the exhale. See if you can completely let go of any tensing or holding around the face. Maybe the only little bit of energy you could use here for the muscles of the face is to add a little smile. You'll be amazed at how much that allows you to soften. Often the body will naturally start to kind of want to take a long exhale. So follow that. If it feels good to take a breath out through the mouth, go for it. Last breath here. And then again, hands to support you. It takes a while for the muscles to be able to contract as they've been at their longest. Start to draw the knees towards each other. And then just widen the feet. And take the knees together. So we're moving in that opposite direction. Just let the knees land. And then just windshield wiper the knees from side to side, taking a little bit of movement here. Get one hip lift and then the other. Walk the feet back towards each other. And then we're just going to draw both knees in towards the chest. So picking up the feet, you can hold on behind the thighs. You can hold on around the shins. Or you can bind the arms around the shins. Now often for a lot of us our neck will shorten and our chin will lift. So your block or your cushion in under the head will just help to keep that length in the back of the neck, and often just helps you to support yourself a little more to hold the knees. And maybe noticing here any differences between left and right. We've done this pose with one leg and then the other, and now we're doing them together. Is there more compression on one side, more tension on one? We've got different organs on the left than on the right, so you might notice something different here. You could have more tension in one glute, or the back of one leg. There could be more tension in around one side of the spine than the other, and in around the shoulders. Excuse me, got an itch. Often we can get a little bit itchy and a bit prickly when we're lengthening the skin, and that's a nice sign of change happening as well. The compression between the upper leg and the hip bone or into the groin is too much, you can widen the knees out a little bit just to create a little bit of space. Check here and see that your feet are soft. Just enough energy to keep you in place. Some poses are really comfortable to be in for a long time. Others we can start to feel a little irritable and agitated. Others we can feel a little bored. Just see if you can just be present with whatever is going on for you and stay with it. And then releasing, slowly letting the feet come back to the floor. And then just press into the feet, shift the hips over to one side and roll over onto your side. And you're just going to make your way over onto your belly. I'll turn the other way and start with the right leg. All the way down onto your belly. Just cross the forearms, make a little support for yourself, a little pillow. Rest the forehead down. And just take a moment here in this new perspective. Notice how the breath changes from having been on our back to now lying on our belly. And then turn your gaze so that you're left cheek is resting onto your arm or onto your hand, and then you're going to slide your right leg out in line with the hip. So for some of you, you might need to just take a hold of the inner flesh and draw that down towards the knee, the muscles or the tissue on the adductor muscles, to give you a little bit more length in the inner leg. We're over time looking for that right hip to move towards the floor, and for a lot of us we might be a little more weight into that left side, and that's fine. Over time, just starting to creep that knee a little further forward. So really similar shape to what we were when we're lying on our back, but this time you can keep the foot in behind the knee rather than having the foot into the inner thigh on the left. Checking in here and seeing that, especially the left glutes not gripping, the left quad. Now this could be enough for a lot of you, but for some of you maybe you can start to come up more into a Sphinx pose. So coming up onto your forearms, the hands can come together in prayer position. This is going to add, for some of us, a little more tension on the inside of that right leg, and also a little bit more tension into the left. So we're creating a slightly deeper back bend. So checking that the compression in the lower back feels okay. Into this outer hip where the leg is attaching onto the body. For some of us that compression can feel like a lot, especially when we start to lift up. So check in here. It's okay today for the shoulders to kind of drop around the ears a little bit, or to lift around the ears, but you could also put a little bit more emphasis on the elbows and let the chin drop towards the chest. And then see what you can soften. At any point of being up in this kind of Sphinx tree shape feels too much, then just come back down onto your crossed forearms. Just watching that the shoulders aren't forward of the elbows, so we just need to make sure that our elbows are there to support us. If we take them too far back, we tend to collapse a lot into the upper chest and then around the shoulders. You could also walk your forearms a little further forward so that the lower ribs start to support you a little onto the floor as well, taking some of that back bend out. And then for some of you, in either position, either if you're lying down with your forearms crossed or up high, you can start to straighten out that right leg. You can walk the leg a little higher up. Doesn't matter if it doesn't go straight. You're just straightening it a little more. And then once you've found your position, soften again. We have to engage muscles to be able to straighten that leg out any amount. And often we'll grip the left leg, we'll grip the quad on the right to contract that to straighten the leg. So now soften it. Good morning to your adductors, those muscles on the inside of the legs. Anytime it feels too much, if you've got the leg straight, remember you've got the option to be on your crossed forearms. You could stay in Sphinx and just bend that knee. Watching that left glute, often that's what will grip. Two more breaths. Right in front of me here I've got my Ganeshas who currently are moving away the obstacles of tension on my inner leg. Gently, gently, gently start to bend that leg. I want you to keep that knee or the foot in behind the knee. Come down onto your crossed forearms if you're not there already. You can keep your cheek turned over so you're resting your left cheek, and then just pick up your left foot, bending the knee and letting that foot drop down towards the glute. Just adding a little bit more of a opening into the hip flexor, into the quad. Check that your left glute is now switched off. And then let that foot drop back to the floor. Just take your right hand down onto the floor, just in front of the chest to support you, and then just start to press into your hand to lift yourself back a little bit to be able to straighten that right leg back. Oh yeah. Just rest the forehead down onto the crossed arms and give the hips a little rock from side to side. And then pick up the feet and just windshield wiper the feet from side to side, letting the hips lift. And then we'll take that to the other side, spin around to face you this time. So cross your forearms. This time we're going to turn our cheek and rest the right cheek onto the arm. Sliding this left leg out in line with the hip. The foot comes in behind the knee. And then if you like, you can take a hold of the inner leg and kind of slide it away from you a little bit. It's fine if the hip's lifted. But over time we're looking to let the hips sink towards the floor. And then once you've found your position, just soften. Let go of any effort in the legs, any gripping or tensing. Here the connection between the floor and the belly can help to bring some awareness into the breath. And then option to come up onto your forearms. Just making sure that the forearms haven't gone wide. We want to keep them in line with the shoulders. Make sure that the elbows aren't back behind the shoulders so you don't feel like you're collapsing forward. So walking them further forward. So it's okay if the torso starts to sink down towards the floor and the shoulders feel like they're up around the ears a little. Chin can drop towards the chest. Or if you want to work on the arms a little, just press into the forearms. just to lift you up a little higher. We are creating some compression into the lower back, so really be mindful here that that compression doesn't feel like it's too much. Checking in with your breath and make sure that the breath is guiding you. So if the breath is gripping, it's probably suggesting that maybe you're going a little further than you should. Maybe you could back off a little. That may mean just walking the hands a little further forward and resting the chest down a little lower. It might mean coming back to crossing the forearms and having the head off to one side. And then from here, there's the option to start to straighten out that left leg, any amount. You can start to walk that leg a little higher. For some of you, you'll get a bit of hamstring as well as the adductor. Some of you, the knee might be still quite bent, and that's great, no problem. Just finding your own edge. And then check in and see. How's the quality of the thoughts at the moment? Coming back to that principle of brahmacharya, of not wasting energy on endless judgment. Not wasting your energy at the moment on planning for the future. Just see if you can be present with yourself here and now. We can start to fatigue a little in the arms. We're using some effort here, some yang effort to hold ourselves upright. If it feels too much, just come on back down again. Last breath here. So if you are up on your forearms, make your way back down, crossing the arms. Notice what changed when you come down lower. Then you're going to just start to bend that left leg, bring the foot in behind the knee. And then lifting that right foot up off the floor. Let that right foot drop towards the glute. And as I said before, we've got to engage the muscles to lift that foot. Once you get there, completely soften. Just let the leg hang. Notice what you added by flexing the knee. Where did it add tension? For some of us, the awareness might be much more into the front body and around the quad, into the hip. For some, it may have given you more compression and around the lower back, into the hamstring. And then let that foot reconnect back to the floor. Slide the left hand out just in front of the chest, just to support you so that you can start to slide that left leg back. Give the hips a little rock from side to side, then pick up the feet, that windshield wiper movement. And then we're going to make our way into a child's pose. So press yourself up and move slow. We've been in a back bend. Actually, just on our way through, we'll pause here in tabletop position. Bring the hands in under the shoulders. And then just press into the hands and just round through the spine. Let the head hang. Press the upper back towards the ceiling. The tailbone's just feeling heavy, as if it wants to anchor down towards the back of the knees. You can gently draw the ribs back a little. Give the head a little nod and a little shake. Just to come out of the back bend. We've been in that shape for a wee while. And then come back to neutral position. Step the hands just a little further forward. And just make some little circles with the hips. So the weight shifts from one knee to the other, one hand to the other. Take it in the opposite direction. Any movement that just feels like it gives you a little bit of freedom in the lower back. And then toes together and knees apart. And if you have got a blanket and you are on a harder floor, then now would be a good time to pop that in under the knees. We're going to be on our knees for a little bit. So toes together, knees apart. If you come forward onto your forearms, just pause here. If your hips don't meet the heels, you could also put a cushion in underneath the sitting bones. If you've got any issue with the ankles, you could put a blanket rolled up in underneath the ankle. That's going to give you a little bit of support there as well. So when you come to your forearms, just pause here, and if you can, widen the elbows and cross the forearms and let the forehead rest down. If it rests down and you don't feel like your neck is kind of sliding off the shoulders, then go to it. Otherwise, if you do feel like you kind of slide your neck forward to get the head down, just pop a block in under the head so we keep our spine nice and long. You can turn that down a little lower, a cushion or a blanket just under the forehead. So looking to keep the spine in its natural curves rather than kind of the head dropping down, and we create this big dip between the top of the spine and where we start the neck vertebrae. Some of you can rest the forehead down. Now noticing here where you feel like there's some edge in the tissue, and then I want you to see if you can start to widen your knees out. So you can keep the toes together to start with, but widen the knees out so we're starting to add more tension onto the inside of the legs, into that adductor region. In this pose, we're back to a symmetrical shape where the left and right from the outside could look like we're doing the same thing, but the sensations on the inside of the body could feel quite different. There's a big stretch into the glutes and around the lower back and around the knees, and calves are getting compressed. The back of the thighs are compressed, For some of us, the groins will be compressing. This is where you can always come back to. Otherwise, I'm going to get you to come up onto your forearms. Lift the hips away from the heels and start to widen the feet, and maybe you turn the toes out a little. This is why I suggested some padding. So I want you to try and keep your knees and your hip in line. Sometimes we'll sneak the hips back or forward in this shape, and then we're looking to widen the knees away from each other. Glad we prepped up all of that inner leg work first. I'm going to show you a couple of options. I'll turn to face you for those of you who have got some props and some blocks there. As I said, sometimes having a landing place for the legs makes them feel a little more secure. So you could put your blocks down onto the inner legs so that they feel like they've got a landing place. That might be a little low for some, so you could have them higher. So fiddle around and get them on a bit of an angle, and then you've got somewhere for the legs to land. For others, having props like our bolster and underneath us, and even a couple of blocks on top of that, gives us a sense of security that we've got somewhere to land, that we're not going to go too far. And then you can start to adjust all those props as you go. As the body starts to open up a little more, you can start to make your way to being a little bit lower towards the floor. So I'm still feeling something here, but for me, probably not quite enough. So I'm okay to not use props here. There's a difference between one side and the other in my body. And you might notice that for yourself. And then maybe you don't need any props, but watching what happens with the shoulders, what happens with the hands, and what happens with the breath when we start to move into these poses, which are much more challenging for a lot of us. That we start to hold the breath, we start to grip and tense in areas that this holding and gripping my hands or tensing my jaw isn't going to change what's going on in my inner legs. Softening my jaw might, turning the corners of my mouth up might. Sometimes we need to use the breath as an anchor, so you could start to count the breath and even extend the exhale here, or a big sigh out through the mouth. So watching, so going back or forward often will avoid an area, but for some of us, if you send the hips back a little bit, you might intensify the stretch on the inner leg. Remember, you can go back into child's pose with the toes together and the knees apart anytime you need to, but move slowly, really slowly if you're going to make a change from this position. Just 3 more breaths here. Bring your hands into prayer position. Start calling upon that obstacle remover, our Ganesha, to maybe make me disappear, or to make the tension in your inner legs disappear. Last breath. And then I find the best way to move out of this is to come up onto your hands. Bring the toes towards each other and onto the floor, and then slowly, you can groan all the way in. Make your way into your tabletop position. Set the hands a little further forward, and then just come back into that bit of movement. Maybe some little circles, and usually we can only do little to start with. And then from here, I'm just going to clear this out of the way, my prop here. I'm going to get you just to press into the hands. You're going to pick up the knees and then set your feet fairly wide apart. So wider than the hips. You're going to turn your toes in a little bit and turn the heels out a wee bit, and then just fold forward here. Knees can be bent a lot. If it feels too wide, just walk the feet back towards each other a little. But keep a good bend in the knees if you need to. Letting yourself hang forward. You could make a little support for your arms with the blocks. You could make a stack for your head to rest onto. You could rest your elbows onto the thighs and just hang forward. It might feel good just to rock from side to side here, shifting the weight from one foot to the other. Give the head a little nod and a shake. Check that you're not gripping around the neck. Nice big sigh out through the mouth. And then use the hands to support you onto the blocks. Bring the toes to touch. And then come up onto the tiptoes. Down into a little squat. Just to bring you down onto the floor. Or however you need to get there. Making your way back down onto your backs. Hug the knees in. Give yourself a little squeeze and a rock from side to side. And then just to finish up, we'll finish in Shavasana, but with our feet wide and our knees together, if that feels okay for you. Just so we turn the work off on the inner legs that we've been doing. So press the elbows into the floor to walk the shoulders down the back. You could take any support you need if you want a cushion in under the head. Just press into the feet, lift the hips and drag the tailbone down towards the back of the knees so that you find length in the lower back first. Then let the pelvis land. Hands could be on the floor with the palms facing up, or you can rest the hands onto the body. And then just following the breath as it moves in through the nose and travels down the back of the throat and into the lungs. And then following it back again. And that rhythm of expansion and contraction as we breathe in and out. Seeing if you can soften just a little more. Let the next couple of breaths come out through the mouth. Starting to think about movement, maybe heel toe, the feet back towards each other. You could interlace the fingers and reach the palms up overhead, making a nice big stretch. Oh, excuse me. And then rolling over onto your side. Make a little support for yourself. And then pressing yourself up into any seated position. Reach the fingertips alongside, nice long spine, reach the crown of the head up towards the ceiling, sitting bones rooting down into the earth. Reach the arms up, palms come to touch, and then bring the hands down to rest in front of the heart, bowing down to yourselves. Namaste. Thanks for joining me, and nice to see you here. I will leave some details there if you're wanting to make a donation for the elephants, and look forward to catching up. Good to see you. Oh, hi Joe, hi Vicky. Who else have we got here? Don't even know how to read. Oh, Deb, hey. Kerry, good to see you.